Hey guys, if you're in there now, I'm just gonna wait a moment or so. Hey guys, I'm just gonna wait a moment till we get a couple people in here. It's good to have you guys. Thank you very much. You might get a little bit of a buffering because I'm trying to find some info, but no big deal. We're not starting for a moment or so. Hey, Misty. Yeah, it's not the internet. It's this hardware. It doesn't have the memory. Worst intro ever. Sorry. So I just want to say hello to the people in chat there. Awake all you nations. Chai girl. Oh, I do have a better computer than this. I will transfer when I get the chance. I just didn't have the chance at the moment. Anna Smith, Christiane, Misty Johnson, Chai girl. If I didn't say your name already. Yeah, I'll get a better setup. The reason why I use this one, I got a PC, but I don't have a webcam for it yet or a setup on it. So I might go get one. Something cheap because my computer is a lot stronger, like my actual PC. I want to thank the wrenches. Well, we do have a live chat or a bunker chat that is like, go to it offline. Sec, I know there's a buffer. If we get the that link is just for after this chat or whatnot. You can go to the 24/7 chat. You can say hello to us. That place will always remain unmodded. So like we won't be, even if we think you're a shill, troll, whatever, you can go there, chat, say whatever you want, totally fine. Here we do try and promote a little bit more healthier discussion. So yeah, as long as you behave in chat, you can disagree, totally fine, no problem. I have no issue with that. Okay, we're about 4 minutes or so in. Bonjour, mon ami, là. So, I guess first off, I'll start off with an update with what has come out today, which is the coroner call, and I followed up with this because the coroner call contained the name of the funeral home. Okay, so I called them, and now they were after hours, and because presuming that this is all verifiable, his death, whatnot, right? They seem to have already cremated him, and because of that, and there's no like public service yet until after the COVID lockdown, which is like they have a real curfew in Quebec. So I'm guessing for that reason they won't have a public service until then, if the information I have is true. Okay, I was speaking with one of the guys at the funeral home. You can see the name on the video for those who are aware. I won't say it here because I don't want them slammed with stuff, but you can get it yourself. You do whatever you need to do, guys. But from what I've seen is they do have or they think they have a record. Now, because this already went and took place, he's no longer on like the front page or anything like that, which is normal. He would be any information about him would be in the archives, which at the time that I called, because I didn't get this information until right now, the archives weren't open. So I was just speaking to a guy that had limited information. I will say this. I called him twice, actually, to try and just back up the information because I missed a couple questions on the second time. And he told me that he was cremated, that he can confirm that or whatnot. And then he basically said what was on the obituary. He then called me back without a request. Okay, this is the big thing that's kind of little weird. And I mean, it could be explained legitimately. He called me back without any request for a follow-up or anything like that. And he said, this obituary that I'm reading is, he can't confirm its veracity because it doesn't have the name of the funeral home on it. Okay. And remember this, because I'm going to bring this up later. He said that a death certificate in Quebec is usually not the confirming factor to put a name in the obituary, but instead they would normally have to give the name of the funeral home in order for that to be published. Now, listen, I've just gotten this information. Okay, don't freak out. I'm not saying that it's fake. What I'm saying is that the guy found this so abnormal that he went out of his way to call me back. I didn't give him I didn't give him my number or anything like that. I guess he had to call ID. And he calls me back and says, you know what? Call back the archives from 9 to 5 and ask those questions to him more like, and in the archives, they'll have more information provided that this is all the case. It did happen. Provided that it all did happen, all the information should be there. I'll call them tomorrow. You're more than welcome to do the same thing. You can look up the funeral home. You can look up the funeral home that's shown on that coroner call. There's an English translation afterwards, but even on the French one, you'll be able to see like it's a name. It says Maison Funéraire or whatever it is. My French is still a little bit rusty. So I don't have confirmation yet, but I do think that it is real and that the plausible explanation for this is because the family was really worried that, we would flood them, But at the same time, this is what kind of makes me doubt this. And I'm not trying to keep you, on your feet or anything like that. Like, funéraire. See, I can't do the R's anymore. I need to go back and practice. What was I just talking about? The reason why I'm doubting this in a way is that I'm pretty sure with the name of the funeral home, we can verify all of this information, whether it's true or false, without ever contacting family. Okay? He never told me to call them. He said that there might be some information we don't have about like death certificates and stuff, but he gave me the number to, a civil service ministry in Quebec, for lack of a better translation. And oh, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. But yeah, this information had we had the name of the funeral home beforehand, there would be no worry of calling the family. Okay, we wouldn't need to call them. They could have, if this was released during the time of his viewing or before the cremation, alleged cremation or whatnot, then we could have verified all this information. The family didn't need to be part of this whatsoever. And this is what is really sticking out to me. Okay. That funeral home name was on the coroner call. And I think the reason why they were talking about this call and not releasing it is because the fact that you wouldn't have needed to call the family or bother them or anything like that, look like a bunch of crazy stalkers or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not calling you that. I'm just saying that, it could come off that way to some people. It could have all been done without ever mentioning the family. I think. I'm pretty sure. And you think about why it would be the case. Why would they not want you to be able to verify it on your own, even if it doesn't involve contacting the family? That's something you really need to ask yourself. Okay. And, I can't read minds. I can't give you a theory. Of course I can give you a theory. I'm going to give you my theory on it. So don't take my word for what I'm going to say to you. Okay. But it's looking more and more that this is the case. And I think that you'll be able to see this for yourself by the progression of events that have happened. They were talking about this call since I think it was January 6th. I could be wrong on that, but it's been, or more, I don't know if someone want to say in chat. It was as if they held it over your heads so that you couldn't go and verify that on your own. And again, I can't stress it enough. It didn't need to have anything to do with the family. So why are they talking about the family? Why are they saying don't bother the family? If you're asking questions, you're doing nothing but hurting this family. Why are they doing that? And I think there's a reason for that. And I'm going to tell you what that reason is. But before I do, I need to qualify, because I know that there's a lot of people that think I just hate Jeff, and or maybe I'm a shill, or that's totally fine. You can think whatever you would like on that. But I want to tell you that no, I don't hate him. And maybe you've heard this before, but I think I need to qualify it at this moment. Like you, like many of you in 2012, with all the questionable events that were happening, and you see the mainstream media talk about it, and you see them talking about taking away rights, starting with guns and stuff like that. Jeff, to me, and I'm sure I was not the only one, he seemed like the only voice when the whole world was against you. He was the only voice that was speaking up for you. And I think that a lot of people feel that way. And like you, if you feel this way, I had an attachment, even though I never met him and he didn't know who I was, I had an attachment to this. Like I felt like this person was breathing life into me. You know what I mean? And I really respect, even to this day, with my issues with him, what he did. He was willing to basically say, you know what? Screw the world. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of what this is. And wrong or right, you got to respect that. And I think that thousands of people did. And he created a following that I don't see anybody else have on YouTube. Yes, there are bigger channels even than him, but I don't see them have that same loyalty. Okay, I don't. You take a look, for example, TruthMediaFilms. Okay, he had, I don't know how many subscribers he has now, but back then, I mean, he was hitting 50K, maybe 100K. Like, it was big, right? Compared to Jeff's, who was more like 15K at the time. All right, it was much bigger. But TruthMediaFilms never had the same loyalty. It was never the same connection for most people, at least in my opinion. The real, that beacon of hope that people had rested in Jeff, for better or for worse. And if you go back to those 2014, 2015 calls or live streams, you will see the interaction between Jeff and Red Pill, is, as I call him, Truth Media Films. He changed his name at this time. You'll see them clashing all the time, and it was almost always initiated by Red Pill or Truth Media trying to brag about how he is better than Jeff in some ways. That maybe his videos got more views, that maybe there was more subs. But what he never ever had, and what he never ever will have, and we'll see to it that that's the case. You will never ever have that same loyalty that I felt for Jeff from most people, if anyone. Like, you will never have that. Okay, for all the things that Jeff was, he he had a loyalty like no one else. He had a charisma like nobody else, and no smooth voice, no clickbait titles, nothing like that was ever going to compare to Jeff. Okay, so I hope that qualifies how I felt about him, like many others. You don't have to believe my story, but I will lay that down before I move on. Basically, Red Pill is half the man that Jeff is. Even if he had twice the subs, even if he had 10 times the subs, and I think Red Pill knew that. And you can see him talk about everything but the loyalty of fan base. And to me, that looked like he was always jealous of that. I don't think I've ever really had these conversations, or sorry, had live streams where I even felt comfortable with the two of them being together, because Red Pill would always bring up something stupid. And like, we're in the middle, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to discuss theories and theorize like all these different things, and he would just bring up this stuff. It was garbage. It was mindless stupidity of competition that had no substance. And he was basically everything that Jeff wasn't in a way. But in the other way, they were very alike in different ways. For all the respect that, I can pay to Jeff, I also know the inside, and I saw the narcissist in him. And I believe the same is true with Red Pill. I think he's also another one. And just like, when two narcissists clash, they, this is, I mean, just look at it. Just look at it. You'll see it. Okay. And it culminated in that big fight that they had with each other over something very, very trivial. Very trivial. Okay. And I'm not saying it was all Red Pill's fault. I think that Jeff could never handle someone disagreeing with him, and I think that also got under Red Pill's skin. Okay, he didn't want to feel like he was, second fiddle to him, which, whatever. But when you were in the group, Jeff was like the hierarchy, and then the inner circle was based around. Now, like Chrissy, Press, and myself, we can deal with that stuff, but he never could, in my opinion. And the actions that you saw, like him taking a very, very flawed theory on Transasia and running with it without really any evidence, just it seemed like it was done truly out of spite against Jeff. And it came to a head, and they just couldn't talk anymore. But they always had this dance with each other in a way. Okay, they both had something that the other one needed, and I think that's why Red Pill always mentioned that I have more subs than you. I have a bigger following, right? What was really being said is that he's jealous of the loyalty that he received, and Jeff vice versa. Okay, Jeff loved talking. Remember, he loved talking about his numbers, about how much he could reach, how much he could, and Red Pill was really good at clickbait and possibly buying subs. I don't know. That's potential. So that he could look bigger, he could project himself, pufferfish stuff, right? And I think Jeff bought it, and Jeff wanted that part. So they were both like jealous of each other, and they both kind of felt like they needed each other. All right, that's what I thought. And they seemed like it was well beyond a light competitive rivalry. All right, this is the biggest part about this. They were clashing all the time. There was like, there's no they were not I could never say that they were best friends by any stretch of the imagination. You know, whenever they had a chance to shoot each other, they would. Yeah, and metaphorically shoot each other. YouTube. Um, reason why I bring this up, you can see this, in my opinion, the jealousy can be seen by the writing on the wall. In the Trans-Asia plane thing, what did Red Pill do after like the culmination of this explosion of events that, you know, when they were clashing together? He changed his name to something that was quite close. It was Truth Media Revolution, right? Now let's break this down. Let's break this down. Let's break down that word. You got the revolution, which is the same thing. All right. Often, truth, la vérité, c'est vrai, vrai. That comes from the word free. The French word meaning true means free. Okay. It's both, depending on which language you speak. It's not so much the case in English, but truth and freedom are often said the same way. Um, in some languages, they are considered the same. So that first word is obviously they're both adjective or a noun, and then the second word in there, media, right? What's a form of media? There's TV, there's social media, and there's radio, right? And then they both have revolution. Now, does this really prove anything? I'm not sure, but I think that that's not the only case of like these name changes where Red Pill slowly moves himself to become more like Jeff. Okay. Building upon that, we now have to fast forward to now because I'm pretty sure they had a very touchy relationship. Maybe they had found some reconciliation later, but they were never that close. And now we see that this guy who spent his entire 5 years trying to emulate someone he could never be, he could never replace Jeff, ever, 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 ever. I will say that louder. He could never replace that. How does he justify taking that name, FreeRadioFilms.com? How does he justify taking that webpage, which he registered, as he has now admitted he's starting a memorial there, on December 29th of 2020? Okay? How? Why? I mean, you can make all the videos in the world paying lip service to somebody. It doesn't mean it's true, okay? Take a look at his last, there was a message he put in his Discord that was talking about, it's the same format in all of these people, in all of the releases of a tribute to Jeff. You have, Jeff is amazing. No one could replace him. Don't call the family. You're shameful if you do. Almost every single one has that, okay? And it's not a coincidence. They don't even need to collaborate. They could just be thinking the same thing, right? None of these people had what Jeff had, that loyalty. They want that loyalty. How do they keep that? How do they keep it when Jeff lost, he disappeared, whether it's by death or by disappearance? And the answer is that they can't, unless they become kind of a gatekeeper, okay? So what it looks like to me when Red Pill was talking about, you know, getting his life together or getting his ducks in a row or whatnot, he seemed pretty intent on, because you kind of got to work at finding when that registry is up. You have to check it all the time, you know? And he did it on the 29th during his hiatus. Think about that. Think about that. He wasn't doing his own thing. He was registering a domain name to take Jeff's website. I mean, this is the guy that spent his entire time when he had a chance talking to Jeff, basically berating the guy and degrading him. You know, he can cry on these videos all he wants, and he can pay all the lip services want, but his heart is far from Jeff. And for those that are biblical, I'm not trying to compare Jeff to Jesus, but this is a great example of how that works. That verse, they are paying lip service to a guy that they just need to keep the control that Jeff had over some people, and that loyalty. Okay. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? Because if people realize his death, mourn properly, and move on, they're going to be free thinkers. Okay. And they're going to realize that none of these guys have ever lived up and will never live up to Jeff. But if they're the gatekeepers of the authorities of who can search for truth, and you scrubs can't look up this information, or else you're hurting their family, well, that narrative is busted. It's completely busted. You can call that funeral home yourself, right? But you didn't know how to call them. You didn't know which funeral home it was. Why? Why? Right? It was on that corner call. And how long did Red Pill have that coroner's call? These people sat on it for weeks. It was Red Pill that had it, right? It was one of them. I'm pretty sure. I think all these people, if they had released that, they know that people could find closure on their own. They want you to do it through them. And now it goes into money, right? Because when you register a .com domain, that's not cheap. That is not cheap, okay? Maybe he's got a good deal, but it still is going to be an economic investment. And that has to be, what do you call it, balanced. So what he'll do is he'll create that memorial, and he'll say all donations will go to Jeff's family, even though we may never have proof of that. And then he's going to say, "Oh my gosh, guys, this stuff costs money. I can't afford to keep this up." And then he's going to have a donation site on that. I think there might be a Patreon link in there, some ads, right? Defiling the search for truth. And it'll become a business for them. And I know this sounds sickening, but think about it from the inside, right? Think about it from the inside. The inner circle of Jeff, which I don't think included Truth Media Films, right? They're probably thinking the same thing as well, specifically due to the fact that they were so Red Pill was a little bit more independent. He was independent compared to these guys. They're all kind of all this inner circle that you have is dependent upon Jeff. And then when you lose him, when you invest everything you have into this guy and you lose him, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? These guys had Patreons and stuff. They don't want to go see half of these people. They don't want to see that. They came to see Jeff. Now, some of them you like or whatever, right? But they're never going to have that same loyalty. And they're never going to be able to capitalize as much unless they kept that information from you. And I find it extremely, extremely coincidental, wink, wink, that all of this information that can now confirm comes out the short days after someone that can physically confirm who Jeff is came out. And I'm not trying to make myself special or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's not me. It was the information that I was able to confirm to you guys. It meant that their game was up. They could no longer keep that gate. The floodgates are now open of people that can verify things on a different end aside from through them. And that became a very big threat. And that's when you started seeing a lot of damage control, kind of start spinning up, even though they were hiding for the past week because you guys were calling them out. I've also heard that they were trying to start memorial donations and even donations into an investigation of his death, their own investigation. I don't know why they need money for that. I mean, these guys, they have Patreons. I think it's quite obvious. They wanted to gatekeep to you so that little by little, you would gain enough loyalty towards them that you would treat them like you would Jeff. And it was, if I'm right, it was a pretty dang good plan, and it was a slow rolled plan. He was waiting for this time to come, that Jeff would leave or something like that, and then he'd jump on that opportunity. I mean, the writing's on the wall, the way he was changing his name. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think of that, but I think it makes perfect sense. They tried to steal that loyalty from you rather than giving you the closure that you needed. And it's shameful. It's evil. It's evil. You can't deny closure from someone. That's not, and one person is evil enough. We're talking hundreds. We're talking hundreds of people, maybe more. I don't know. All I know is that I see a lot of people that are asking questions that could have been answered long ago with the information that they had. You could have just put it out. Hey, that funeral home, you can verify it from there. Don't contact the family. You don't need to. But instead, they kept giving you little bits and slow drips, drip, 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 drip. All kinds of theories coming out that he was a little person, whatever. So it shows that, everybody except for these inner circles, and you can't talk to like the families because the families are sacred. Yes, they are sacred in a way. Yeah, they are. And if you can avoid calling them, you can. But the people couldn't avoid calling them because you weren't giving them the information of the authoritative sources. And you could have, and you didn't. Media side, from what I can see. And I know this sounds like, big conspiracy theory. I don't think it has to be a conspiracy. This could just be the natural course of action. This is when the inner circle lost their leader, they felt insecure, and they had to keep their legitimacy at any way possible at the cost of their fans. It was a massive disservice to everybody. And it really ticks me off, man. I gotta say, because I had my problems with Jeff, and it was like they didn't care about him. Like at the end of the day, I wish that it never had to be this way with me and Jeff. I don't think they would care about that. Not all, but in Red Pill's case, I mean, the writing's, it's there. It's obvious that someone would deny closure for financial gain in a truth community. I don't know if there's words to describe how evil that is. If my theory's right, it seems like there's two factions, like Red Pill trying to do his own scam, and then you have the inner circle trying to find legitimacy once more. And I think within that are some of them that would also be into the money. Not all of them. I still think that specifically one person is there to protect Jeff, and they've been sold a story that this is to protect their family when it never had to do with the family. It never needed to do anything with the family. I think you're evil assholes, really, and that's why I left. That's why I left, because I saw that when I saw the narcissism in Jeff, it became very quick and clear who were coming at me. And I remember KJ too. He came at me too. It seems like these guys might be a little more connected to some of them than they want to let on, but I don't know about that. I feel like right back in 2012, when I first met Jeff, or when I first saw Jeff talking about those things, that the world is basically telling an entire lie. The authorities are all lying, and the majority of people are just buying into it or whatnot, out of maybe shame of being said that they're, crazy conspiracy theorists. Well, the exact same thing is happening right now in this movement. And I think there's a collection of problems here, but money is certainly an issue here now. So I think it's all the information for the most part. Let's see if we have any questions. I'll see what I can. I don't know if I missed something. I think I got through it pretty well, what I was trying to say. I don't think you should trust TruthMediaFilms. I don't think he was ever trustable. I don't think he was ever intelligent enough to decipher fact from fiction. I think TransAsia was a good example of that. I think he goes on leads that have nothing to do with truth, but everything to do with popularity. I think he's a fake. And that's why he had more subs than Jeff, because Jeff was like, you know what, I could talk about these concerts, these Illuminati concerts, and I can get, 1 million views on this. But you know what? I'm pissed off at these guys. Excuse my language, guys. I'm not feeling too good. These people are lying to you. That coroner's call shows it all. It shows it all. Because it was your ability to find closure on your own, and they tried to keep that from you for as long as possible. Let's go to the chat. If you want to ask a question, try and put on like Christiane did there with the @Avidan, so that I can see the. Sometimes when it starts getting a little fast or whatnot, it gets hard to try and catch up with all the questions. I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to scroll a little bit. Might buffer. Give me a second. More than 50% of the truth movement is as real as Grampy Gene from Sandy Hook. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Hold on. YouTube. Don't ban me, YouTube. I think that's by design. I think that there were plants in here. Like these people. That's what I was always trying to say. Like, we should not. Oh, Kitty, don't do it. Oh, please don't do that, Kitty. Please don't do that. I think that there were plants in here. We thought that they were dumber than what they actually were, and they knew that they could brainwash the masses, and they still had to deal with you. And the damage control were shills. I don't necessarily. I think it's now clued in a little bit more to me that Red Pill is not so much a shill, but an absolute grifter that is willing to screw over the entire community just so he can make an extra buck. I'm not sure if he's a shill, or maybe they give him. I think what happens is that they give you startup money and maybe like a 2-week course or something on how to make a video. And basically, it's like a startup business. And then how you do that, aside from maybe special assignments, they might kick you an extra buck. They can get you started. They can give you a business for your own, right? This is tempting stuff, and I don't see. Listen, if someone from the CCP would bribe me $40,000 to marry a Chinese person, which is the case. One of them bribed me to do that. I turned it down, of course. But if one of them would pay me $40,000, okay, I promise this is the truth. Like, they can just throw chump change at these people. They're not like Red Pill is not a thinker. He just knows how to make clickbait for the most part. He's not genuine. You can hear that in his addresses about Jeff. It's all about lip service and how we could never replace him. Well, yes, you can. Okay, you need to replace him with the ability to search for yourself and not just trust people like Jeff, who, for all the great things he did, he was very flawed and he was manipulated because he was pathological. And once you learn those patterns, you know how to control those patterns. Okay. And that's the biggest problem with this kind of stuff, because now they're trying to take that and they want it, and they're trying to do it en masse to you. Okay, let me just go through. Every day I look into this more, it just disgusts me. It disgusts me. Okay, sorry, I haven't been. One sec. Ice cream day and all. Oh, hi. Love you too, man. Chris Jones, how have I been? I haven't heard from the TVC Mario mess. Oof. I hope he's okay, man. But that came crashing down real hard, like I thought it would. And I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing. Thank you. I hope you're doing okay as well. Um, Anna Smith, the man from the funeral home, when he called you back, or sorry, when he called you back and said to look into this because unnatural causes. He told me that the obituary that he saw of Jeff was strange, or the word that he said was unverifiable. And specifically, he mentioned the fact that there was no funeral home on it. Okay. And that's usually in Quebec, apparently. It's not the death certificate that you need. It's usually you got to give the name of the funeral home so they can go and verify that. And they say, oh, okay, the name's there, we're good. Right. This didn't happen here from what he saw. Now, he had limited information. I'm not trying to say that the obituary is fabricated. What I'm trying to say is that he said it's nothing like what he saw. And you can see that for yourself. Actually, if you go to the Gazette, those obituaries, and you compare all the other ones next to it, there's some things that are, it's not, that obituary is not the normal format of an obituary. Now, that doesn't mean it's fake. It just means that it was unusual enough to him that he would search my number down. It obviously occurred again in his head to double check, to call me and say, listen, call back tomorrow because I can't verify this. Hope that answers the question. Let me know if there's something I missed. Is the Jeff C music channel TMF linked to real? Sorry if I covered that already. Just got here. No, I don't think I covered it. And yes, it is real. If you go and listen to that music, you are listening to Jeff C play. And it I think it'll give release for a lot of people. That's all. You should go watch if you don't mind bluegrass and stuff like that. It's a good channel and it'll help give closure, I think, for some. Maybe not for everybody. I can't speak for everybody. Tell you what, I'm going to quickly answer questions. I'm going to go take a quick break and learn how to be a man again. So, Lily, it's good to see you, my friend. Grace and whatever network she's a part of. I don't know enough about these specific people to make a comment there. What I do suggest, it's not Grace, but there's one in there that I think needs help. I think this person's being handled, and they might be able to be a big help to you guys. And I think you should make sure that I've said it before, I know, but you should make sure that person knows she's valued and that we're here to help. I'm going to read this one even though it wasn't addressed. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the work that Jeff did, but people are straight up putting him before God in a weird worship. And yes, they are actually. And I did that myself. It was a form of idolatry. In 2012, I just came to Christ. And I'm not saying that my time listening to him and appreciating his work is not. Sorry, just give me a sec. Like, I could have grown so much in the Lord had I not been there. I'm not saying it was a waste of time. I'm going to agree with Solomon in Ecclesiastes when I said, all this knowledge and stuff, I should have spent the time being closer to God. And I think a lot of people should have. I'm not saying you shouldn't be here. I'm just saying that, maybe if we listen to our Bibles, we listen about what Pharisees are, who Jezebel is, all these types, these same sort of things. I mean, the Bible is very, very good at picking out narcissists. They don't call them that. They call it was Pharisees, Jezebel, things like that. I think if you spend more time in the Bible than you do on Jeff C's videos, I think that you're going to have a lot more of a physically healthy lifestyle. Jeff was not physically healthy, and he was not mentally healthy, and he was alone aside from the internet. Now, listen, he had a bunch of people that worshiped him, but it's not a replacement for interpersonal relationships. And I think that's a lesson that we need to learn. There's a part of this movement that may be intentionally trying to get people to be alone. When we should just be individuals together in fellowship, but we always have these people trying to usurp authority. I'm going to take one more question. I'm going to take a little break and maybe just chill for you guys. Okay. I think I'm good on questions. Quick break. You guys do your thing. Have a chat. I don't want to cut it on you so short because I know I threw a lot of information at you that I still are especially the funeral home. I can't verify this just yet. I promise you that I will look it up. You're more than welcome to call them yourself. You can get that information on your own now because it has been finally released by grifters. I'll be right back.
We usually call you that for, but I thought it was pretty cool. It's still a first edition from what he said, and it's autographed by the author, so I figured I needed to have you come down. All right. Becoming of the Sorceress. This is a perfect title for this book because this book really does capture the early beginning years of that whole UFO culture and that movement in the 1950s about quote unquote flying saucers. That term was coined after Kenneth Arnold's sighting. There were people who supposedly saw flying objects even before World War II, but they weren't spread this way. This is the first sighting that was started across the nation was done. And it was actually
All right. Hey. Let me just go see if I missed any questions. I might chop up for a sec. Yeah, no, I hold on, sorry. I don't beat myself up about it. I had wished in futility, I guess, that I could have maybe done more to warn before I had gone, or done it more efficiently. Maybe like, I don't know if you guys would like to, because maybe I should keep this one short as the information was important to go through. Oh, Philemon, what did the brothers of Jeff C say recently? I haven't found any comments, and while I did make, a polite request to verify things, I didn't receive a reply, and I think it's real. I think something is going very wrong in this family, and I pray that they're doing well. But this is the thing, is that when the inner circle, when these people say don't contact the family, in a way it's correct. In a way, it would have been correct had they released the information so that you could verify things on your own. I'm not sure if Red Pill's a shill. I've said that he is, but as more and more information comes out, it looks like we have someone that is truly trying to steal what Jeff had, if that makes sense. Like I explained before, he never could get that loyalty like Jeff had. Yeah. The condolences, sure. And listen, I'm not telling you what to do. I have no right to tell you what to do. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this all could have been avoided had they just released the information that they had, but instead they decided to sit on it so they can profit, in my opinion. That Anna right down there has a live chat link if you guys would like to talk here. after this, because I probably will finish this up before the 1 hour mark, and we're at 55 minutes. So I'll put this up. Yeah. I'll just put it this way, regardless of what the true identity of Red Pill is, he's not here for the truth. He's not here for Jeff, and he's not here for you guys. If he would, he wouldn't have acted the ways that he did. This is an interesting discussion I would like to take up further. By Ray of Creation, I don't think they even need shills anymore. Everyone is so divided and paranoid that they fight each other. Everyone has an ego, but few have the capability to see behind it. Yeah, I think that in a way there's a lot of truth to that. I think that it's at such a state of chaos right now, and well, the truth movement or whatever, I think it's chaotic in general because you're getting information that, stuff that people don't normally look at. They ask the questions that you don't normally ask, and because of that, you're going to go down avenues that nobody else does. So you end up with this overload of information like 4chan, and that chaos can drive itself in a way, yes. However, they don't. When you leave people to their own liberty, they tend to go more libertarian. And that means you can be controlled, or you can't be controlled. So when they see a real person like Jeff and they can identify that he's a narcissist, right? They then, in my opinion, shills. And I'm not calling, like, remember the veggie crew or whatever? I'm pretty sure you guys weren't shills. I'm pretty sure that you were guys that think a lot like I do in a way now, that you were disgusted by this sense of authoritarianism of truth. At least that's what I think, and I was wrong there. But it's so chaotic in itself, but they need to still find a way to control that. So they'll flood things with information that's not true. Like, I saw so much rip Jeff that it was clearly not him. It was really disgusting. I do think that there are shills in your movement, and I think you are probably one of the number one targets, actually, of shillery. They need to keep you in chaos and divided and stuff like that. And yeah, the personalities can do it on their own, but maybe not to the narrative that they want. So they need to do what they can to drive that. That was a really, really good question, Ray of Creation, or a really good comment, because it is correct in a way. You don't need the shills to be divided, but they still have a narrative that they need to control. So that's how that works, in my opinion. Oh, Rave Creation says, had a problem with censorship when people were just playing around trolling. I called it shill for just goofing off. Yeah. And that's the problem, right? They can't handle criticism. And they'll always be among us, these types of characters, and they'll always be around to try and control people and set up false authority where it doesn't belong, or it's not needed. They need to find a way to teach you that it's needed. And I think if you bear that in mind, when you're reading these letters, like I've seen from Grace and from Red Pill, there's in my opinion, there's not much genuineness there towards the good part of Jeff. I mean, they can say he'll never be replaced, but you can say that about anybody that dies, and it's a cool and nice thing. Not cool. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sound, but it sounds like a nice thing to say. But there's like very little specifics about what was good about Jeff. It was more like, we can't replace him. You can't go on without him. It'll never be the same. And it will be this. It will be the same. All you need to do is take up that torch on your own. Yeah, no. Influence freedom. And by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot your name last time. It was just, it's an overload of the old names, new names, and stuff like that. The celery agent. I don't know who that was. I don't know if you guys reveal, but that video with the Muppet, that was really, I like that. No, I mean, honestly, I like looking back on that. I thought, I mean, I hated you guys. I had this vitriol that I needed to put on you to, do whatever I thought was right. And but the more I thought about it, I thought it was brilliant. You guys, you did, this is how you take down, a narcissist, is this ridicule. They can't get their finger on it. This drove Jeff crazy. If you wanted to hear narc rage, you bring up those veggie agents, man. Like, you guys were super effective, and you should not forget that. Like, nobody had I don't think there was anybody living rent free in Jeff's head as the agents were. It was great. I applaud you all. Like, it was just brilliant. Broke us. It made me question who I was, and why I thought this would be noble, and very, very effective. I think if you do that to the inner circle now, it would be effective as well. And I think that one person that I'm speaking of, I think she's smart enough to get it. I think you guys might be even the best chance, because hey, this is a good point. This is a great point, actually. You guys were as close to free thinkers as anybody when you were here, and you were the thing was that you were anonymous, right? It was the antithesis of what this little hierarchy thing they got going on is, right? He couldn't pick on the centralization. He had nothing to truly identify. We had nothing to truly identify. Our hierarchy system, right, to protect the pyramid or whatever. Sorry about the symbolism. I didn't mean that. But the metaphorical hierarchical pyramid, our system was no match for yours. It was no match. It was driving us crazy. Okay? Just remember how much it was awesome. It was, I mean it, and I don't just call everything awesome. This was very, very effective, and I really appreciate what you did. Yeah, sure. You want me to go on record saying I met Jeff C? So I met Jeff C. It would have been somewhere in that September and October that I was in Montreal of 2015. 1 second. No, 2014. It would have been October or November of 2014. I don't know if those videos still exist. And we were at Police State Radio's house, and I saw him in person. We met there, and we did a live stream there. And the pictures that you see on the obituary are him. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to the music channel, his music channel that I think it was Red Pill, just gave you. He just dripped to you. He probably had it for ages, that you could have confirmed that this was the voice, this was the face, that's the face. It's probably why you're getting it right now. You'll be able to hear his voice. He does try and mask it, but it's not 100%. I'm pretty sure he knew that, and that's why you never saw it. Or he just didn't want to show his exam. Don't mind me there. Sorry, I'm a little bit more speculating. But yes, I met him, and that was him. I promise. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, the Ottawa Expositor. I was the Ottawa Expositor. Before I became Avidan, that was my name, the Ottawa Expositor. I don't know if I can even do my intro now. Hey guys, this is Justin of the Ottawa Expositor. I think that's how I open most of them. Maybe hey folks. Yeah, and that very it broke me. It broke me. You guys were ridiculing me or ridiculing Jeff or something, and I just didn't know what to do at the end of the day. I'm not afraid to admit it either. You guys kicked my butt. Good on you. Did I miss any questions? I said I was going to go 1 hour in, but we'll give it a little grace. Yeah, the link there that you see now that ends in D8, that's his music channel. You will hear his voice. You can confirm for yourself then. You don't need to take my word for it. Baptisms. No. Listen, that part I could have thought of a little bit more. I'm not trying to say that it's not important. I'm just, could have been more efficient ways to set that up. Yeah, he was a good guitar player, and he hid that from you guys for a reason. I think he just didn't want to be identified, but he was very good at playing guitar. It's definitely great to listen to. Who holds a funeral later in the year for families after having been long declared deceased? What is my opinion on that? Can I give one example of that ever happening? I don't think no, I can't give you an example of that happening in the past, but I can give you a rundown on what's happening in Quebec right now. The province of Quebec is now locked down completely, and they have a curfew starting at 5 o'clock. Okay, so there's some really strict rules that are going on there. To me, although with any other circumstance, I would not be able to give you a plausible explanation. I would say that sounds very fishy. But in this case, I could see why, because these people are completely locked down. I don't think you can get into Quebec from Ontario, which a lot of his family lives at. I might be wrong on that part, but I know that what's going on in Quebec right now is China level of lockdown, and that should explain it. And yeah, Goivid, 1984. I get it. I know. I'm not saying I have my doubts too, but the rules are what they are, and the normies follow it, and I think that's what's going on here. I hope that helps to explain. Jeff's show did improve after the cult, the truth cult was exposed. Yeah. That's cogent. That's cogent. He realized he was, and while narcissists, without being broken by God, can't change. While they can't change, they can learn how to hide it better. So on your end, if you're not on the inside, you will see an improvement. And as they get older too, because he was close to 50, which actually kind of surprised me. I thought it was more like 42, 43, maybe even 44, but not 49. My gosh, I'm so thrown off at this moment. I'm forget what I'm saying halfway through. So much stuff. we were talking about the truth cult. Yeah, once he realized that he was busted, he knew he had to, chill. And I wasn't in the inner circle after that, but my assumption would be that they probably would have gotten the brunts of him not being able to express himself in a more aggressive manner publicly. Probably would have created more psychological complications, and people probably had to deal with it on the inner circle, maybe more than I did, but I could be wrong on that. Like I said, as a narcissist gets into their older, stages, that the real pathology, the intensity of the pathology tends to diminish, tends to. Rudolf Steiner, like, I'm not 100%. I got to be honest with you. Are you talking about, was he a national dude over in Germany? Because I know there was a Steiner in that, but I got to be honest, I don't know him, or I forget him if I did, but I'm pretty sure I've never heard that name. Ray of Creation, guys, go sub to him, man. He's a kooky dude. I don't think he's a Christian, so if you're a Christian, you want to keep a Christian circle. But he's a really good dude, and you should look him up. And I'll look up Steiner as well. Rudolph, yeah, no problem. If you look at the world, everything currently is the opposite. Virus bad and vaccine good. Now try and think of it this way: virus good and vaccine bad. RNA, mRNA is to ruin your immune system. Yeah, I think it ruins a lot more than that, along with your immune system. I don't like that stuff at all. I'm not telling you that I think, that it's real. The need for this panic is what I think is. I think a virus could exist. Not sure on the whole virus theory being fake. I'm going to lean with no on that. But, what do I know? I think there was a virus intentionally released by China, but the way that we're handling it is how China is manipulating the media to make it sound worse than what it was. What really hold on, I'm going to answer this question real quick. Avidan, why does Red Pill say that we know the truth on what happened to Jeff C today? I'm assuming when they dropped the coroner call. Sorry, when they slow dripped the coroner call, that in that coroner call has the name of the funeral home that you can now verify. You can now backtrack and, well, to the like Rene Descartes style or whatever, as much as you can verify something, this is probably your best way to do so. But I mean, listen, he had this for 2 weeks, and he had a lot of information. All these guys had enough information to give you peace and closure without ever having to contact the family. And I mean, think about it this way too. The family, let's say, just for argument's sake, this is all a lie, and the family has been threatened or something like that. Because I'm not saying that that's not impossible, or I'm not saying that it's impossible that that's happened. They're not going to give you the truth out of fear of their lives anyways. You would be then just taking their testimony. I think you need to go off verifiable evidence, at least of that which is entered into authoritative sources. And you can do that without messaging the family, if that makes sense. Yeah, Red Pill, I'll read it right out with you. Red Pill is a teasing scumbag teasing on someone's death. Red Pill, you're a teasing scumbag that is teasing someone's death. You're a mockery of the truth, and you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. If I didn't know better, that you don't have a sense of shame, or at least one that you can connect with. Germ theory is pig pharma brainwashing, but isn't germs bacteria and a virus is not bacteria? I think that's how that works. Like a bacteria is actually like a living substance, whereas the it almost gets philosophical as to what viruses are. I'm pretty sure one could say that it's just a packet of data and it looks to replicate that data. It may not be alive. Whereas bacteria is a, one or multi-cell organism. What concerns you is Jeff C's military connections. Yeah, maybe, but I'm pretty sure he would talk about it even on air. Pretty sure. I know that he said it to me at least. Like I've heard him say it. So I think this would have been something that would have been much more hidden if he had like some sort of military, like if he was a military intelligence shill or something like that. I mean, the world is crazy. maybe I'm fooled, but I don't think it's the case. And I'm not trying to say maybe this, maybe that. I'm not trying to keep you holding on or whatever. Just trying to look at all options. Digivox says that they want you to be afraid of one of them. Yeah. Whatever. I think, yeah. I mean, I think they want you to fear their reprimands. Like as you can see, like on all of these posts, when they give their lip service to Jeff, the next paragraph inevitably follows bashing shills. Or they say it first and then they move on to how we could never replace Jeff and therefore you must follow us to get that feeling more, to get your hit. Well, I'm not, if Steiner is esoteric Christian, I'm not a big esoteric. I don't think that esoteric natures have anything to do with Christianity. I think it's the antithesis of Christianity. And no offense, but I don't like Gnosticism. I think it is a perversion of the gospel. I think the Bible is quite clear that God is a God of order and not of confusion, and that we are to hold our lamps high, not hide things in symbols. Oh, Anna's really and thank you to everybody that has given support, and everybody that has, I guess, connected in this time when we're looking for closure. I really appreciate everything that you guys do, and when I leave, I probably won't stay here forever. I won't be making indefinite plans to stay here, I don't think. I hope that you can carry the torch of what you believe Jeff to be. One that exposes the truth, and one that's not going to take someone's word for it just because they say so. Even though that may be exactly what Jeff would want you to do about him, I don't think that was the message most people got from him. I think you should be that message. Do not try to replace Jeff with me, for example. first and foremost, just so I put that out there. Don't replace him with Red Pill, because it'll never. Oh my goodness, that poor guy. That poor guy is not the brightest tool in the shed, and he'll just do it. I mean, like, I guess he's bright in the terms of manipulation, but anybody can manipulate. Anybody can do things without someone's knowledge. Yeah, but again, theosophical. I mean, hey, buddy, I'm not into Gnosticism. Let's just put that out there. I'm not going to be either. I love the Lord, and I don't need added scripture. I believe that the Bible's complete. It doesn't need it to be added upon, and we've been told anybody that adds upon it, say they have extra info. Yeah. I'll take a look into it, because I don't mean to just brush you off, my man. I think the Bible is complete, and that's what we need. That's all we need. The Alex Jones impression. I think you got a lucky one out of me there. Listen, no, I won't be a Jeff C. And listen, I'm not trying to bash him, and I have to work every day to make sure that I don't get like that, because I do have a little bit of that narcissistic nature in me, and not just a little bit either. Like, when you're recovering from dependence, or when you're in that dependent state, it's easy to become like a narcissist. And Ray of Creation can attest to that, although he's not here anymore. But I think many people saw that. So you have to remain vigilant every time. I might have the ability of self-reflection a little bit more than a narcissist, but it doesn't mean that I can't act like one. And trying to be Jeff C., I think, would be the best possible way for me to start acting like one. If you could even say the word best like that. Sure. Maybe, like, the Lord, we learn the gospel through hearing. Sometimes we can't hear because we're hardened. And sometimes people like Jeff that expose that there are some very evil forces in this world that can help you to the realization that there is a God, because you see the evil and you wonder why one would fight against humanity. I think it's possible. I think I missed a question from before. Someone was talking about, Chrissy Tokyo. Yeah, I mean, we were close. We actually even, like, dated, and like, the long distance and things like that. It's very hard to make that work out. And things happen. We were still friends. We still chat. We were talking about this. Chrissy, she has her own, like I was right up until this point. Like, we had spent our time in the truth movement and had some jaded, feelings toward it. And I'm not saying she's jaded towards you guys. It's just like, she's got to move on. She feels like she needs to move on, I think. So yeah. The only reason why I'm here is because I saw very weird things, and I felt like there weren't many people that could bring forth that information, and the other people weren't doing it, so I felt like I needed to. Thank you, fellow men. If I said to you, Aaron Haywood, if I said to you that I had a photo of Jeff in military fatigue and his name didn't match up with the last name Cleveland, what would you say about why have only old photos been put up? It's a good question. That old photos that only old photos have been put up, and I've pondered this myself, because that picture of Jeff, the one with the big smile, I think that was very close to the time that I met him. His hair was like basically the same at that point. His complexion was basically the same at that point. Here would be my, oh, I don't know about the Jeff and military fatigue. From what I've seen, unless there's like, a major psyop going on with this, like that it's just so big that it went over my head. His brother, Dr. Mark, looks just like him, and he is faculty of a university. You can get that information. His last name is Cleveland. He looks just like Jeff. You can now verify Jeff's voice and face in those music videos. And I think that adds up. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that this is the most plausible explanation. As for why does he only have, and this is pretty, this is a good question, to only have old photos. But I myself, I don't take pictures of myself. I'm rarely a selfie guy, if ever. I don't go and get my photo taken, and also, like, who's going to take my photo sometimes? Like, I might have like one buddy that I'll hang out with a day or so, it's nothing. But Jeff was very isolated, and he wanted to hide his face from you guys. So I think the mentality is cogent that he wouldn't be taking pictures of himself. I think that's. Did he ever mention anything to me about being in the military? Or yeah. Like, I want to say he said that on live stream one time. I highly doubt he would say it to me in confidence and not say it in public. Maybe, but I think that's how he knows Derek too, maybe, or at least that they both served together. But again, I think that it's easily explained that if you're a narcissist, you're isolated, you've kind of sought refuge on the internet. So it's basically just him and the computer, and he's not going to be taking pictures of that. And I don't know anybody else that would. Yeah, I think that you can prove for yourself with the information that is now out there over the past 48 hours. Thanks, Red Pill. It only took you 2 weeks. You can now verify this for your own. You don't even need to take my word for it at this point anymore. I was hoping it would cause this, and maybe it did. Maybe it was for another reason that they released this at this time, but it certainly wasn't long after I was starting to talk about Mark Cleveland. And again, I think I'm not going to say these names anymore without giving a warning. You could verify all this information through the authoritative sources without having to contact the family. And I recommend that you do so. You do your thing. I'm not going to force you. You just do whatever you want to do. But I think that now you will see that you can now do research on your own path and verify all this for yourself. I think now is you can get a lot of closure. And I will call the funeral. You can do it yourselves. And there are archives should, if everything is in line and all the ducks in a row, the archives should have information on Jeff for us tomorrow. Or they have it now, it's just they weren't open when I called them last. It was only like the main office or whatever. Okay, start wrapping up. Quick reminder that up on the pinned comment, there is a Bunker live chat where you no longer have to go to Discord and have everything dripped out to you so you can stay loyal to those guys. That place, while sometimes you might get the kick here if you're a little bit too egregious on this chat, I really don't care what you do on the other one, provided, there's no Antifa CP on there, let's put it, because I do still think that Antifa is here. The families. Can't bug the families. Why did Jeff deny being Jeff Cleveland in the past? I think it makes sense. Why, like, if you could deny, he was always trying to, like, he didn't want people looking him up. You could look at how he treated, or not, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying you could look at how he believed that everything must be verified, be it right or wrong, was a source of projection, maybe. Like he didn't want anybody to know anything about him, and so he would be wanting to know everything about people on the outside. If that makes sense. Therefore, like he would keep all his information to himself, right? He was very afraid that you would see him for his true self. Very afraid of it, and as all narcissists are, it's part of their gig. A lot of times you'll see him in pictures with sunglasses on, or with kitties. these things that, like, you know, kind of hide their true nature, and it makes you think that, you know, either they're super cool or super nice, or something like that. It's usually how they work. A reminder, if you want to ask questions, try and get the @ Avidon, because I'm really bad at going through it, and if I scroll, I end up buffering on this. So yeah, Hoaxbusters, man, we were dealing with actual psyops, you know, and like I still don't know what happened at in New Hook. Or Newtown, sorry, not New Hook. New Hook is a popular name in where I'm from. In Newtown, Connecticut. I still don't think we can prove things. And just because, like, I believe that the narrative is false, that we were the narrative that we're given, but it's not necessarily that everything was fake. I think that there could be something in between, and they want you to pick one of the two, right? Just because we know that the official narrative is fake doesn't mean that we know what happened. And I think they play on that all the time, the plausible deniability thing. So this is why it's like you got to be careful. You'll lose your mind thinking about this stuff, and I think it's intentional. The main thing I would suggest is that I saw a lot of people lose their sense of other people's humanity, I guess. And that's what they want you to do, even if, like, these people are just outright liars. Like, they want you to hate these people so they can point at how crazy we are, you know? So I think that's something that, like, you gotta be really careful about when you're talking about these people. Like, you have to presume innocence, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. It's very fortunate that you have to presume innocence. What I'm trying to say is, from an investigative standpoint, you can't just convict someone without the proof. And I think there was a lot of that going on. And actually, one of my first videos was based on that. I've talked about this before. It was some dude, I forget his name. Can't remember it. It's been pulled now. I'm pretty sure that guy pulled it. So that was suspicious. But even if he was, we did not have the proof, or, like, even if he was a paid actor or whatever, we didn't have the proof of it. And we were, like, going to the family and saying it was fake and things like that when we couldn't prove it. It's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove. That's how a court of law of a libertarian society works. And if we negate that, negate's not the right word, if we ignore that, then we become just as bad as all these elites that believe that they, at the end of the day, have every right over you, and you have no right. That's where I think the shills need to come in. They need to keep pushing that, because I think we revert back to libertarianism a lot more when it's unchecked. But yeah, these guys need to keep pushing that, A, so that they can smear you, and B, it makes you go crazy. Crazy stuff. If Aaron Haywood can provide evidence that he's not Jeff McLean, should we have him send an email? Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to dismiss it. If you have evidence, yeah, let me type it in. Aaron, I didn't mean to dismiss what you're saying. I'll give you my email. Just give me one second. I had a British man threaten my job and family on her. British man, yeah. Asira knows who does this. Other than that, I would have to show myself on here. Sorry, I'm not quite sure I understand. Antifa was at the Capitol by Imperial XS at 12:45, dressed as Trump supporters. Yes, one of the giveaway things so that they identify themselves, that they turn the hat backwards. Trump did not finish speaking until 1:11 and still had 45 minutes to Capitol building. So no way it was Trump supporters to start it. Absolutely. 100%. And I think it was very clear. And I know, I'm going to say it, but Q predicted this, okay? I don't totally believe Q, but I think in this case it was true. They knew that the narrative needed to be staged. And they say it a lot. Whoever this was, it is in the thing. Whether or not they're LARP or a psyop or anything like that, is written in there that something was going to happen. They needed to change that narrative, and that's what happened. So they did this psyop, but from what I see, from what I've been looking at this, General McInerney, I can't say his name, McInerney. He's a retired general, and he confirmed that special forces that are loyal to the MAGA faction infiltrated the infiltration, and they were the ones to get Nancy Pelosi's computer. This would plausibly explain why they're all freaking out about impeachment, about the sacred halls of the Capitol. They tried to psyop you, right? But these guys know about these psyops, and they psyop the psyop. I think, anyways, if what I believe is true. So I think you should have hope, man. I think you should have a lot of hope. I think they were one step ahead of everything. Now, does that mean that they're going to win this 100%? I don't know. It's getting scary out there. But then Q also predicted that it'd be darkest before the light. But of course, from the Q as a psyop perspective, it's very plausible that it would be meant to leave you doing nothing until it's too late. So, you know, I see that side. But I tend to believe that. I tend to have hope. Let's just put it that way. If anything, Jeff C sounded and looked younger than he looked. Yeah. He did. Oh, I mean, maybe this could like provide some insight, like for personality types like him. It's usually due to a stunting of cognitive ability or cognitive growth by about 8 years old. So often these personality types are kids for their whole lives in a way. It will reflect it in many ways, or it very well could. But yeah, he sounded real young. He did not look almost 50. I mean, so that would have made him, if it was 2014, so yeah, like 43. He did not look 43. Like this now makes more sense. When I was like, you know, he looks like a less, or he looked like an unhealthier version of his brother or whatnot. Now it makes sense because he had numerous years than what I thought. Did I miss anything? If I miss anything, guys, post again. Sorry, I can't scroll up without chopping up. Did I take psychology? No, I did not. But when I found out about narcissism, I spent copious amount of hours looking up how that worked, because it clicked for me. I grew up with a narcissist, and I tended to attract them, and I guess I still could in a way. And I thought that it was necessary for me to learn as much as possible about it. So that's like I can't get into any other subject aside from maybe outside of the cluster B groups of the DSM-4. That's basically what I spent a lot of time looking at. But no, I don't have even the basics of psychology down. So don't treat me like a psychologist. And I know that I know that it sounds like I try and sound like one, but no, I'm not a qualified psychologist. But I think that the stuff that I say, if you look up this information on narcissism, it will be evident. I'm also not so bad at grasping concepts, so that can help. Absolute distraction ops, and they have corralled all the Trump supporters. And yeah. Seriously, it's I don't think that this is working. I think this is ticking off a lot of people, man. I think it's everywhere. Yes, they're all bashing what happened there, but I think there's too many people that just realizes this stuff. It's clicking in. It's clicking in. And this is where we have a great opportunity for these people, like to show these people that these things have existed for a while, and there have been clear campaigns to try and drive people crazy and make them look like a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and or a bunch of baseless conspiracy theorists. I even just did that just then. I just said a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Well, conspiracies happen. It's when it's like two people are committing a crime and they planned it. So, if you're talking about that at all in any form, you are theorizing. I don't think it's bad to be a conspiracy theorist, but a baseless one, yes. But we gotta make the difference. Like we have to make sure that the distinction is clear. And that's what they're trying to muddy up. Self-awareness goes a long way. Yeah. And to an extent, I don't think anybody can truly know themselves. But yes, self-reflection is not just important, but necessary if you ever care anything about the truth. That's the first thing you have to connect with, I think. Like, you have to be able to think through, where are my blind spots? What information is not verified? What am I wanting to believe this? Things like that. Without that, you're in big trouble mentally. And that was one of the things that I thought Jeff lacked. He was quite astute at picking out certain things. He was when he wanted to be, he was a good researcher. Before Sandy Hook, those videos that he did exposing like Canadian corruption and things like that, even American corruption, these were, in my opinion, his best videos, because there was nothing that was deniable. This was all straight facts. And he, like, you could hear him as he spoke. He had like a notepad that he was flipping over, and like this is where you saw him really work. And I mean, I'm not saying that he was like lazy or anything like that. What I mean is that when you can't prove things, it's almost like you have to start only going on your gut. And I think he relied on that too much. He created a blind spot, and the shills took advantage. But like before the Newtown thing, those videos were amazing, and I hope they're up, because very, very good information. I don't know if they can even be found. Is there like an archive? I mean, like, again, I haven't been here in 5 years, so someone might be able to answer to that better than I. Max resistance. Okay, let's talk about max resistance. Let's talk about that in north of the 49. I think those were your shills. I think those were the shills of the day. Yep. 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 Let's I'm gonna try and backtrack for you. I first got on the same show with Jeff. So I first spoke to him through Max Resistance. I was a guest on the Max Resistance thing because I was covering something in Ottawa. It was the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was like taking videos of Chinese people trying to ruin our country. And I was like the only person there, except for like a leftist rally that would show up once a week. And so yeah, anyways, I was exposing the TPP and I was exposing what it was. And I guess I had done good enough research that it sparked, I guess, interest in me. So they immediately come to me. They immediately, like, it was like, boom. And, you know, listen, they were nice. They were nice. But as soon as I went in there, north of 49, and just specifically north, okay? Specifically north, I remember the most. But the others as well, I think too. There was a constant influx. Like they would just like inundate me with all these theories that were just like out to lunch, you know, and I was trying to fit in and stuff. And so like maybe I was more susceptible to it. Like they were it was just like one suggestion after another. It was like freaking brainwash or something. And it was like none of these things they were all, no offense to anybody that believes it, but they were all like the equivalent of the flat earth. Like they didn't, even if you could prove it, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't stop the elites. Like no one's going to believe it. It was all these things like that. And it was like they were trying to get me to push that as opposed to, you know, covering real issues like the TTP or TPP. And I'll give a little caveat there. I actually flipped out at her one time because to protect Jeff. It was him, her, and like Swan Song, or that guy. And this guy like totally thought he could control me too. And it was the first time I met him. And I was just like, dude, go away. But I forget, I don't know what it was, but she was trying to get me to like kind of side against Jeff, and my mind control or whatever you want to call it kicked in, and I just like unloaded on her, and I never talked to her again. And to be quite honest, like these groups, good riddance. I never needed that. And I think my worst mistake when I was a truther, when I first came into it, was the fact that I just like joined the group as soon as possible, right? Because you went into it thinking like these people are finally not against you when you're trying to say the truth. You know what I mean? So like there's that sense of belonging that you need. And that's the basis of how a lot of these cults operate, whether it's religious or not. It's the same reason why I really hated when Jeff would call the sheeple stupid. I always argued with that online and offline because I know the difference. That like I know when I was in the Mormon church, like a lot of these guys, like we're talking IQs of 130, but they believe that the natives had gold coins, and for some reason we just were never able to find this yet, even though that there was, you know, massive wars in the Book of Mormon and stuff like that, right? So like these people are really smart, but it has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with the want to belong to something. And then once that is, starting to be satisfied, an intelligent person can more easily go through a process of rationalization of something that is false due to that intelligence, right? And rationalizing, like, for those who don't know, like it's to make something that isn't right in your mind. And that starts to take hold. And once you start going down that road, man, then they got you. And yeah, that was my biggest regret. I wish I had gone alone, and I wish I hadn't joined a group, including the one with Jeff, because I didn't mind having like friends or something like that, but to be kind of belonging to a group, that's not how this is going to work to push the truth. And that if you do decide to make your own channels, as I do recommend that, if you think that you feel led to do so, to try and disseminate information, I think that's really important that you do so. I'm not trying to bash that. I'm not trying to say that my movement, or like me going into this, was a mistake. I'm just trying to maybe pass on a recommendation to you. Don't try and join these groups because you don't know the intent of who's behind it. You might think that they're there for you because they sound like they're bashing the establishment, but they could very well be the establishment on that double-pronged psychological attack, right? Like the one that shames you, and then this is the one that accepts you. And I went into that one, and yeah, it fills your head with BS. Oh, we got some Roger Stone. Roger Stone. I don't know what to think of him. Could be, I saw him do an advertisement for bitwave.tv, which is a national socialist site. Or no, it's not a national socialist site. It's an alternative streaming site that is populated by NatSoc and those that are there for shock value, I guess. And I saw him, he actually like made a 40-minute or 40-second video like endorsing that webpage. And I found a little sketchy, I guess. And I don't recommend that you go to that website, not just because of its ideology. You do what you want. You follow your ideology. I don't own you. But there's other levels of sketchiness there. There's something else. Book of Mormon contradicts the Bible in so many ways. We can just leave it at that. Because yeah, everything, and like it didn't. Its original version would not be able to be put in the Bible, because it was based on no truth. It was based on lies, or maybe Joseph Smith kind of copying material from what he read in his book. Like they always try and say he was uneducated, but his mom or dad was a teacher, and he had access to a library that most people didn't have access to. So he had a lot of information, and he took a lot of that, and he abused the fact that he held that information and most people didn't. Hint, hint, red pill. And a lot of that ended up in the Book of Mormon. But if you don't look at the Book of Mormon, like the original text of, if you don't look at the Book of Mormon like it's supposed to be biblical, one could say that it could be like a Christian fiction or something like that. And again, I stress fiction. And that, I guess that's the biggest ploy of it, is that it feels Christian to some, but when you really look into it, it got progressively worse over time. So like, I remember it used to mention Mary, the mother of God, but now it says Mary, the mother of the Son of God. And that distinction is very big, and you guys know what I mean by that. The biggest shills give you 90% truth. The 10% can sink it all. That is the brilliant. That's exactly how it works, is that they feed you with the truth that you don't get from the mainstream, and that sucks you in, and then they start feeding you that extra 10%, right? Proud Boys are shills. When did that happen? I don't know if you can you confirm that they're shills? I'm not sure, but you got to bear in mind there's some form of controlled opposition. And I'm starting to see the pattern that, when the media lightly attacks something, it's meant to not destroy it, but to get one side to go against it and shame it. And then the other people that are like, why would you shame this? Get them to go all out. So I think that it does kind of go in line with controlled opposition, but I'm not saying that for sure. I haven't looked enough into Proud Boys. Actually, I probably should have more now that I think of it. I'll get back to you. They fight back at Antifa and BLM. Yeah, see, that's the thing, though. I'm wondering, is that the double-pronged thing, right? Like, is that how they operate? Is that how they're doing? Like, you see that they're against something bad, and then we commit the fallacy of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, when it could have very well been set up to drive you there all the time. Again, I'm not saying that this is proof that they're fake or that they're controlled. I'm just saying, is this one of those cases? I don't have the information for that. I'm just talking theoretically. Fellow man, thank you. Yeah, Mormons and J-dubs, but they are in truth cults of their own. And so they reflect the dangers in the truth cult, or whatever you want to call it. The danger being is that nobody but us has the true information. We are the one true source. We are the one true church, which is what they say. The one true church is actually their term. And Jehovah's Witnesses, the same thing. They believe that all the other Bibles are translated incorrectly, except for theirs. But it's those, and there's someone in here that might disagree with me. I've seen it. I'm not trying to offend you, my friend, but I think that when you look into the text of the Jehovah's Witnesses Bible, it becomes pretty clear that it was written by men with limited information, or they had an agenda. It's been a long time since I've read it, so it's going to be hard for me to pull out examples at this moment. But I can get back to you on it, because I know it sounds like I'm bashing something without evidence. I maybe I'd like to revisit that. Yeah, the benefit of the doubt thing. I mean, like, yeah, I feel like there's all these kind of forces that are trying to push us to pick one side or the other, when that's a false dichotomy in itself, or a false dilemma, whatever you want to call it, black and white fallacy. That is a great example. Finding freedom, John 1:1. The word was God, the word was a God. The semantics, and that's another thing. Cults hate talking about semantics. They see the word semantic as an inherently negative thing, because the devil's in the details. That's, yeah. Hello to 50 people. We broke 50 a couple times here today, and I appreciate it. And thank you very much for the likes. I hope that this has been informative for you guys. I keep saying I'm going to wrap it up, but I know that you guys, we'll keep it going, because I do see that there's a few that really want to keep chatting. Proud Boys took down the monolith in Cali. I watched that live stream on DLive. That was really... I don't know if it was Proud Boys. They seem pretty young for Proud Boys. They seem like they were 18, 19. Could have been faked. Could have been controlled opposition. But there was a part of me that really Really enjoyed that. Yeah, God's word is the only thing that has spin-offs. Yeah, well, like that's if you're in your Bibles, right? And if you've studied your Bibles and specifically reading what Jesus says on Pharisees and things like that, this is some dangerous equipment to be carrying for you if I'm trying to lie to you. Okay? So if you are strong in the word, then you can basically, because you know the real, it's like a paper, someone, I'm stealing this analogy. Okay? So don't think that I made this up. You don't know what a counterfeit bill is because you've studied a bunch of counterfeit bills. Okay? Because there's always a new counterfeit. The way that you can trust yourself to detect counterfeit bills is by studying the real thing. Okay, you know all the ins and outs of the real thing, and no matter what they try on you, no matter what little new thing they got going on, if you know the real thing on the in and out, or in the inside and the outside, then you are going to see that for what it is. And the same is such for the Bible. When you read it, when you learn its precepts, when you see it stare into your soul and been it convicts you, and once you get through that, that's why like a lot of people can't read the Bible, because it convicts them, and it's really scary to see, like myself, like I saw Jacob in myself a lot, like especially at the time that I was going through it, you know, very reverently for the first time. I saw Jacob in me a lot, and it scared me, and it specifically because I remember reading about Jacob, and I'm like, you idiot. Like, yeah, like, but it didn't take long before I was like, uh-oh, that's me. What do I do now? My gosh, it was scary. It was scary, very scary. But the Lord takes you through that, and you can push through. And as you do that, you're able to see what they're trying to tell, what the Lord is trying to tell you. And you learn the real deal. So when you have that, there's nothing that they can do to fool you, right? Because you see it. It's easy. I remember like when I was first starting to get strong in the word, like strong in it, and Francis came in and Ratzinger went out from the Catholic Church. I like across the street from where I lived was a Catholic church. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I was like, because our churches here, like none of them are very good where I live. Like it's not a big church place. I was like, if they give me the word of God, then maybe I'll be happy. And for a couple of weeks, it was it didn't slip, didn't I didn't really see anything. I was like, maybe they're saying the Catholics aren't so bad. But then the priest started talking about when Francis came in, and when Ratzinger went out, and he was like the first pope to resign, if ever, like if it wasn't like in for hundreds of years, it might be in ever. And this, people we're talking about that, like normies were talking about, non-Catholics, Catholics aside. So he didn't say it at the Sunday mass, but I would go to like the in-depth mass on Tuesday afternoon or something like that. There'd be like 10 or 12 of us, and obviously we would be the most devout or whatnot. And I remember him saying, if anybody talks about this, like how it's strange that Francis would come in, it is your job to silence them. And he said, it's your job to protect your father. Speaking about both the like one or either of the popes. And when he said that, it went boom, because Jesus told me in the Bible, you don't call a man father. You don't do it. The priest father thing was kind of like, because it's been so ingrained in my head, and he was also a Monsignor, so I never called him a Monsignor. I call him, or I never called him a father. I called him Monsignor. So that didn't quite click there for me. But once he said that, once he was like, you have to protect your father, I was like, no, my father is up there, not here. You know, it's like that. That's clearly what it says in the Bible. I don't know where you guys are. It's like, well, now it's starting to make sense that nobody brings their Bible to a Catholic church because they never read their Bible and they just expect the priest to give it to them from an authoritative standpoint, which is the cult. You know, they're slow dripping you information and they expect you to just take their word for it. It became very clear. No, I'm sorry, Mike, if there were Catholics there, but yeah, you should really take a look at your church, man. Crazy stuff going on too. All right, I think we'll clue this up. If you want to continue to chat, we'll go to the bunker chat. I'll be there, and remember, if you have any information, there's actually a link to my email there, and you can always post information if you're talking about, because what we're dealing with here now, there are people both trying to spin damage control at the same time that they're setting up their grifting plans or whatever. So at this moment, they're very torn and they're going to be rushed to give you information to try and control you. And what I would ask of you, if it's possible, take a screenshot of whatever you see fishy, send it to me on email. Because I haven't been in this movement for 5 years, I do have a lot of blind spots, and this stuff helps me very much. I don't necessarily have the time to search who the big channels are without people helping me, things like that. And I really appreciate all the help that you guys have done in that, because I certainly wouldn't want to be making theories that are, easily debunked because I have a blind spot. Okay. All right, guys. Again, thanks for dropping by. Go by the bunker chat. The link is up in the pinned chat. And for those that aren't watching live, you're more than welcome to leave a comment. And thank you very much. All right, guys. See you later.